1-1-1. Yeah.
Gymnastics. Your commitment and all you have done for education does not go unnoticed. We're grateful to have you here.
Welcome, folks, inside the McCaslin Fieldhouse here in Norman, Oklahoma. We have a great one on hand today. It's alumni night and Cleveland night, but it's the #1 Oklahoma Sooners hosting #3 Stanford and #12 Greenville. My name is Mark Connor, along with two other All-Americans from OU, Peter Daggett. Good to be working with you, Peter, and Matt Winsky. This is alumni weekend, as I mentioned, so there's a lot of energy. A lot of people came back to town. What does it mean to you to be back here in McCaslin Fieldhouse?
It is always such a great feeling to come back. The energy, there's just nothing like it outside of this world. It is so fun. It's also so great to come and see all of our old teammates from all the years you worked so hard together for so long, and then now to come back as adults, see how everybody's doing. It's a really cool feeling to see everybody thriving.
Now, Matt, you and Peter were teammates for a few years, and you were during that streak of championships for the OU Sooners.
Yeah.
What's your best memory from those championships?
Man, it's hard to pick just one, but I mean, if I had to pick, I would say honestly, freshman year, winning that first national championship. You know, coming into such a talented program with so much depth and everything, it was really, really good winning that.
Mark Williams, of course, has led the Sooners to 9 national championships. This is his 35th season here, but his 26th season as a head coach. Of course, the Sooners are tied with a dozen NCAA championships, tied for the most in NCAA history, and he was one of the coaches at the Rio Olympics in 2016. So the Sooners will open up on the floor in this competition, and the visiting Stanford Cardinal will be on the pommel horse, and Greenville, a program that's just in its 3rd year, will be here to start on the rings in the 3rd spot. So we're going to see dual meet competition. The rules are a little bit different this year, Peter.
Yep.
Explain what we're going to see with the 4-up, 4 count.
Yeah, so last year and all previous seasons, we've seen 5-up, 5 count, meaning that there are 5 athletes on every event. Every score counts. This season, we've lost one of those routines on every event. So there are 4-up, 4 count. That means a lot. One of the most important things that it means is that falls are 20% more impactful.
Matt Burgoyne will lead off the Sooners on floor. This is a very strong event for Oklahoma.
Starting things off with a beautiful stuck double layout.
And then a beautiful connection pass right there for Matt Burgoyne.
Oklahoma, the #1 team in floor exercise. They're also #1 ranked nationally in rings and on the high bar.
And so far, this routine is looking very, very nice for Matt Burgoyne. Right there, you can see he's doing the non-acrobatic element, which is required from every single athlete when they do their routine. And then this skill right here is pretty new. It's called it's not a new skill, but it's called a scale. It's a new rule change that they've implemented where every single athlete is required to do a scale on the floor exercise.
We used to see those a lot more back in Bart's days, and they're coming back around.
Right, love the old school stuff.
Coming in dismount right here. Nice double pike. 2 hops there. Doesn't want to give away that many hops. You always want to try and go for that stick, but at the very least, you've got to minimize that to 1 hop. He's going to be a little frustrated about that landing, but he's going to bring back the energy to his team, pick it up.
Burgoyne scheduled to compete in the all-around tonight for the Sooners. He's really been one of the MVPs this year in terms of scoring contributions. Week in and week out, he's delivering high-quality routines. On the pommel horse, Stanford off and running.
And we're off and running. We're missing a little bit of the action here on Taylor Burkhart. Hopefully we'll get a view on that soon just to fill you in on what's happening. Taylor had a mistake at the very beginning of his routine. He sat down on the pommel horse, which is going to be a significant deduction. Oh, and got a little mixed up there at the end as well.
Taylor is one of the two Stanford Cardinals who were doing the all-around along with Asher Hong, who will be up next for them. We're seeing 3 events tonight. We're seeing Oklahoma on floor, Stanford on the pommel horse, and then now starting on the rings is Greenville. They are opening up, so we'll see floor, horse, rings, floor, horse, rings.
Got Ricky Mays coming up here.
And really nice straight plunge to get the routine started.
But I just wanna go and mention that Stanford starting out with a large mistake like that has a huge impact on the energy going into the rest of this competition. That is not the way that they wanted to come out against rival OU.
We'll talk more about that, but with 4 up, 4 count, you're right. Every routine is significantly more important. There's no routine they can drop if there's a low score. So a missed routine is a game changer in team competition these days.
Absolutely. Even more than it used to be. And that was a very nice finish there from Ricky Mays of Greenville.
Matt Burgoyne led off the Sooners with a solid 13.95. Here is Arthur Ballon.
Huge first pass to start the routine off. A little bit low on that landing. You could tell he was really trying to go for that stick and just got a little bit away from him. Manages to get back on track though here.
Little hop there. Just looks a little bit jumpy. He needs to settle in, take a breath, especially in this non-acrobatic skill. Gives you a moment to kind of catch your breath, reset yourself, and get yourself back on track to make sure that you're able to get those landing deductions minimized.
Matt Burgoyne, who left off the Sooners, 13.95, ties his career high. Good start for Oklahoma here today on Alumni Day.
Excellent start.
Nicely done. Back 2.5, connected to a front layout.
Coming into the dismount here. You see another double pike. Just a bit of a hop there. Wanted that stick, but another hit for the Sooners.
You know, and we're going to be seeing a lot of that double pike dismount here tonight just because that's another new rule change they've implemented on floor. The gymnasts have to do a double flipping element as their dismount. And so the double pike tends to be an easier one for a lot of these gymnasts. So we'll be seeing that pretty frequently here tonight.
And if you're sitting at home wondering, why does it seem like it's going a little bit faster? That's because there are only 8 skills per event now when there used to be 10. So the routines are a little bit shorter, trying to pack in as much difficulty as possible.
Asher Hong now for Stanford, the second athlete up.
The 2024 Olympian from Stanford.
Asher was a part of that historic bronze medal winning U.S. team in Paris.
And he looks solid as a rock. Oh.
You know, and it's interesting because Asher doesn't have that typical pommel horse body type. A lot of times the guys who are really good at pommel horse have this long, lengthy body, and Asher, it doesn't seem to phase him. He's short, stocky, and can still do amazing gymnastics.
Yeah, he definitely does, and you saw he got a little bit off there, but he is just so incredibly strong that he can just tough it out, keep himself on the pommel horse, and keep pushing through to get a hit for the Stanford Cardinal.
Now the next competitor up for Greenville on the rings is Sergei Popov. Ricky Mays led them off with a 12.9.
Beautiful Maltese position there to start things off.
And it looks like he's struggling just a little bit on these swinging elements, but manages to get back on track, and so far this is looking like a nice ring routine.
Got to hold every single position for a full 2 seconds. Judges are watching for that. Dismount right here. Big stick.
You'd love to see that.
We talk about the rules. There is a stick bonus in college gymnastics.
Yes, there is. That. Yeah, so you get an extra 10th for sticking your dismounts, which is a huge swing because it's not just that 10th. It's also the elimination of any sort of deduction. So it's minimum 2/10 bonus, maximum usually around 4, because most steps, you really don't see 1/10 steps too often.
Here's Brigham Frenthaway now, third up for the Sooners on floor.
And Brigham has been great for the Sooners on this event so far this year. And just like you saw right there with that first pass, just huge explosiveness and then great stuck landings like we just saw right there.
After Matt Burgoyne led them off with a 13.95, Arthur Ballon had the second score of 13.45.
Brigham has just been such an impressive athlete to watch over the years. I remember the first time I ever saw him in the OU gym, I thought he was still about a freshman in high school. Now he's looking like a real man out there, killing it for the Sooners.
And what a story he has. He was on the club team, and he worked his way up to a legitimate spot in the competitive lineup for the NCAA team, and has been doing an incredible job this year.
Yeah, showing just right there. That was an absolutely beautiful pass. Perfectly stuck landing. This is such an interesting addition to the sport, adding in that scale. It is a big change. Another double pike dismount, little hop there. That's going to be a good score to bring him front away.
Burgoyne, the senior from Lansdale, Pennsylvania. Typically we see him in floor, rings, and parallel bars. Over for Stanford on the horse. Their two scores in the leadoff spot was Taylor Burkhart, 13.05, and Asher Hong had a 13.8.
Coming over to K and J Spencer here, the Stanford Cardinal.
And really nice scissor work to get the routine started.
Really tricky. Coming into that one palm, nope, no, one palm will work now. Up to the handstand, back down. Very difficult.
And made it look relatively easy.
Yeah,
it's just so impressive.
Very easy. He's another one of those guys similar to Asher that he doesn't have that typical pommel horse look to him, but he's able to get the job done and bring home another hit for the Cardinal.
Stanford has won the last 5 consecutive NCAA championships going back to 2019. Of course, 2020 was the COVID year, and they didn't hold a championship. So, and the Sooners won the 4 previous. So these two top teams in the country have won 9 of the most recent NCAA championships. That is the Blue Bloods of men's gymnastics. Now, Greenville is just in its 3rd year of program existence. Zach Peters, a former great at Nebraska, is their head coach. And they're doing a nice job for a very small private school of only 1,000 students.
Wow, they really do look incredible. I am so impressed with what they've been able to do, building a program from the ground up. You know, you start at 0. Everybody else at the beginning of the season, they lose some guys, but they gain new guys. When you're starting a program from the ground up, you're starting at 0 guys. So to be able to do what they've done in just a few years is so incredible.
All right, on floor now for Oklahoma, Emre Dodanli, the senior from Ontario, Canada. Of course, his family heritage is Turkish. He competed in the Olympics in Paris this past summer.
And you'll see why right here. He is just so impressive on this event. So calm and clean, and just with super difficult gymnastics.
Brent Away had a 13.55, so the Sooners are consistent in that mid-13 to high 13 scores.
And huge connection pass done very late in the routine.
That is just so beautiful. Got to take a moment to pause for that scale, catch your breath. You really got to slow yourself down when you're moving really fast. Big dismount right here, double layout.
Wow.
Just a tiny little hop there. That'll be a great number for the senior.
You mentioned a lot of guys doing pike double backs at the end. How hard is it to crank a double layout at the end?
It is tough. You're exhausted by the time you're getting ready to do that dismount.
Let's be honest, none of us have any idea how hard it is because we've
never
tried that in a million years.
Here's Colt Walker. This will be the only event we're going to see him on tonight. He's a superb all-arounder, member of the U.S. national team, but he's been dealing with an ankle injury, so I believe he's scheduled only to do pommel horse.
Been a world team member in the past. Just so incredible. Oh, that's big. That's big.
And Stanford's opening the door for Oklahoma to capitalize.
That is a big opening. That's not one. We didn't see it on air, but remember, Taylor Burkhart had that mistake at the beginning. He can normally score in the 14s. He scored a much lower, closer to he scored a 13.05. Colt is not going to have a score that Stanford needs to help put them on top. They're going to be behind from a significant margin moving into this next rotation.
Now, typically, pommel horse is not one of Colt's strongest events, but because he's dealing with that ankle injury, he's put in the lineup there this week to continue to give him some experience. You can see him kind of limping along there a little bit.
He's definitely not happy with that. It's really tough when you come out as a specialist. You're only doing one event and you have a mistake. It's a really challenging feeling. You don't have an opportunity to redeem yourself the rest of the night. Can be hard emotionally, but got to pick yourself up and make sure you pick your team up.
Ethan Poole up now for Greenville on the ring.
Really nice iron cross right there. They've actually upgraded the difficulty for this skill, which I love that they've done that, because used to it was ranked as a B-level skill worth 2/10 difficulty, and now they've valued it as a C-level, so it's worth 3/10. And I just love that because when people think of men's gymnastics, I feel like they tend to think of the iron cross. And so I'm glad that they're rewarding these gymnasts for doing that.
Double layout with a stick there to finish. Couple sticks for Greenville on rings. They're off to a great start.
You got to love this program. And it just said their third year of program existence, right? And I talked to their head coach, Zach Peters, the other day. He's driving the 15-passenger van with his whole team in it, driving from Illinois. Wow. They're just a little bit northeast of St. Louis. Driving 8 or 9 hours. He's on his AirPods talking to me for an interview while he's driving his team.
Man.
And I said, I remember the old days when we didn't have, charter jets like a lot of teams do. And it's really cool to see. He's put together a pretty darn strong program for beginning and right off the start.
Absolutely. And it's tough too. It's not just that they're starting from zero. It's also a much smaller school. A lot of the other programs, or almost all the other programs in the NCAA, are at much larger schools. I think there's maybe a few other examples that have that small student population, but it's a totally different option. And not everybody wants to go to a Oklahoma, a Michigan, an Ohio State. Not everybody wants to go to those massive state schools. Some people prefer that smaller college town environment, and it's showing that this team, it's really, really impressive that they've been able to pull together such a good group of guys in such a short amount of time.
In case you're tuning in now, this is the warm-up. They're getting set for the second of 6 rotations. It's called the one-touch warm-up, so the athletes basically have 30 seconds per athlete to get a final warm-up as they move to the next event. So the Oklahoma Sooners will be on the pommel horse as they're trying to get the crowd kind of amped up with some games.
Yep.
Stanford goes to the rings, and in this second rotation, it'll be Greenville that'll be on the floor.
So right now, OU has a little bit over, or a little under a 1.5 lead. Which, honestly, I expected with 2 mistakes on pommel horse. I expected that margin to be a bit bigger than it was. But you know what? I'm going to be honest. We're all still adjusting to these new rules and how it impacts things. We know that falls are more impactful overall, but you don't see quite as big of a difference in these scores themselves. So we're still getting used to it up here. I'm sure you are at home. And, we're just going to keep rolling, keep watching some amazing gymnastics. There's a lot to come. Stanford's coming to a really strong event, and OU's coming to the trickiest event out there, the pommel horse. You just got to stay on. That's the most important thing.
It's the name of the game.
You were always great at that, Matt.
I wouldn't say that, Pete.
It's early in the night. I'm still going to be nice for now.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we don't need to talk about my horse ability.
We don't need to talk about mine either. Let's be honest here. Excited to see what these athletes can put together in this next rotation. We'll see what Greenville's got on floor. And, Matt, we've talked a little bit about this adjustment to the 8 skills. We had this adjustment to the 8 skills. I've been talking about it with all of the alumni this weekend, and the reality is, every single guy that I've talked to said, I would have been an Olympian if this was the rules that I was under. I heard it from every single guy because everybody feels like it makes such a big impact removing those 2 skills.
Yeah.
Everybody back, when we were competing, everybody's got those 2 skills in their routine that, not high value. You do a lower value skill that you just do to make sure you get those additional 10s. Now those skills are gone. Those filler skills are history. And now we get to see the hardest gymnastics that every single guy can do all of the time. It's a really cool change. I overall absolutely love this adjustment, and I keep saying I'm saying the same thing. I wish I had got. I'm not saying I would have made it to the Olympics, but man, I am saying that I do wish that I had an opportunity to compete under this code because it is really, really just such a different environment.
And it's quite an equalizer because not every team has strong guys who can do 10 high-level difficulty skills.
Right.
So in a way, it's going to create a little more parity in college gymnastics.
Exactly.
And so we go now to the floor for Greenville in their second rotation.
Starting off here with
Jackson Clapper to lead them off.
And big double front to get the routine started. Nice landing.
We're not going to see as much difficulty in the routines from Greenville as we saw from OU. So they got to be ensure that they are perfect on their landings. Little hops here and there, but no major mistakes so far.
Yeah, and you can really tell he's really fighting for these landings. He's not just giving it away, which I love to see that from athletes.
Absolutely, that's the way to do it. Nice connection pass there, beautiful.
Finally got that stick he's been looking for.
Clapper, the sophomore out of Kansas City, Missouri, had a broken hand back in October, yet doing well here.
Dismount here, double back, and a stick for Greenville to start things off. They've been bringing the sticks. We haven't seen any from OU yet on the dismounts. Greenville's got a couple so far.
And up next, we got Kelton Christensen on pommel horse.
The leadoff spot on pommel horse, it's just like every event, is critical, right? Because they have to show confidence, swing aggressively so to set the team up for big scores.
Absolutely. First guy up is tremendous pressure. You've got to make sure you nail this routine.
And so far, it's looking really clean, nicely executed, really good extension in his hips. You can tell he has a really nice rhythm.
Just looks comfortable up there.
Kelton excels on pommel horse and high bar. He was very weak last week because he had been struggling with the flu, but he's got his strength back there.
There you go. Back in full force, bringing it for the team, bringing that energy to the crowd, and a big hit to start off the Sooners' second rotation.
This is the bulk of the season for Oklahoma. They're meeting all the top teams around the country right here in the middle of the year. And of course, 2 weeks from now, many of these athletes are going to the Winter Cup, which is an important national qualifier to make the national team. So several of these gymnasts are not only competing for their school, but they're also competing for spots on the national team.
Absolutely. It's so cool when you get a chance like that to go and represent your country. Making that national team gives you the opportunity to advance to international assignments, whether that be World Cups, World Championships, Olympics. It's the first step in that path. Many of these athletes are going to that event trying to make that team.
Arun Chetri for Stanford.
Beautiful position there. Little bit high, but more important to stay still. Coming into these swinging elements.
Beautiful swing work right there. Just gearing up for that dismount here in just a sec.
Those double flipping elements you saw, those are devalued from the previous code, but many still do them. Ooh, that's the way to answer that routine on pommel horse. That was a beautiful routine. Big stick there at the end.
And I would expect Stanford to bounce back on this event. Rings has historically been one of their best events that they've done. And so now tonight they're going to be hungry. They're going to be more motivated after those few mess ups they had at the beginning on pommel horse.
And there's not a better place to go after a shaky rotation than still rings. It's one of those events you don't really see guys fall off. You see guys fall in dismounts from time to time. It's pretty rare.
Ricky Mays on floor now for Greenville.
Some big tumbling here.
Nice stuck landing right there.
Jackson Clapper had a 13.85 in their leadoff performance for Greenville on floor. This type of skill is one of the requirements the judges are looking for, right?
Yep, non-acrobatic elements. I know it looks pretty acrobatic to you all. That's what we call them. They are slower elements where you see people do circles on the floors, where you see people do those press handstands. You got to hold those for 2 seconds, just like on the rings. But it also gives you a chance to catch your breath for a big dismount like this. Full in.
Wow.
Bit of a step there, but very difficult routine coming out of Greenville.
There is head coach Zach Peters. You know, he told me over the phone the other day that they're really trying to raise their level of difficulty. I'm seeing it. They're doing high-quality routines over there at Greenville.
Yeah, you can really tell they're pushing themselves to get out of their comfort zone a little bit, and they know that if they want to be competitive, they got to up that difficulty, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Tyler Flores now up for the Sooners. Kelton Christensen had a 13.25.
And so far, this is looking really good. Really nice single pommel work. And that single pommel work can be really, really tricky. You know, you have to be very careful to stay on balance, and all it takes is one tiny misstep, and you're off.
Gotta fly up to this handstand. A little bit slow, but able to keep moving upwards. Very good finish for Flores.
2 hits back-to-back for Oklahoma. Tyler Flores and his brother Colin, twins, they're on this team together, and Tyler really known for his consistent work everywhere, but particularly on the pommel horse.
Absolutely. Solid like a rock.
Taylor Burkhart now for Stanford on rings.
Competing in the all-around tonight. Comes from the same club gym as former Sooner legend Yul Moldauer.
Really nice iron cross to get the routine started.
I know Yul was a little bit heartbroken when Taylor decided to go to Stanford instead of coming to Oklahoma, but it seems to be treating him just fine. He's had an incredible career there so far.
He's currently ranked #1 in the all-around nationally.
No surprise there.
3-time member of the U.S. national team as well.
So incredibly talented. It's really incredible to watch him work.
Oh, wow.
Huge double-double dismount.
That was a beautiful dismount.
2 flips, 2 twists, was able to kick out, see the landing.
That was a hard
Gorgeous routine.
Burkhart, the senior from Arvada, Colorado, delivering. Back to the floor now for Greenville. Braden Erickson.
Nice combination tumbling. I am really impressed. They really seem, what I expected to see from Greenville this weekend was, some of these athletes doing harder routines, but not a ton of depth. I am really impressed. They seem to have all the depth that they need to have a really successful team.
Keep in mind, they're just a program in their 3rd year. And Zach Peters, the former star at Nebraska, is their assistant coach for women and head coach for men. And he drives the van.
Talk about a busy schedule.
This guy does it all. And he's got a pretty darn good team. Wow.
Wow, look at that. Stuck full in to finish things off. Greenville came to play. We're going to take a look at that dismount again. Maybe not. Oh. We're going to come over back to the pommel horse.
Zach Nunez, he is one of the team co-captains here for the Sooners. Great event for him.
And has been rock solid on this pommel horse lineup ever since he came to OU.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as he was a freshman at OU, he was already on this horse lineup, and he has kept his spot year after year after year. And you can see why.
A little bit of a leg break there. That's going to cost him a few tenths. Judges are looking for any separation in your body.
And I love that. You know, he had a mistake. He didn't let it phase him.
Right.
He got right back on track, finished really strong. Great performance from Zach Nunez and the Sooners.
That's the third hit routine in a row. Christensen before him had a 13.25. Tyler Flores a 13.55.
And we got our last two athletes from, or the last athlete from OU coming up real soon on the horse. Ignacio Yakers, you are in for a treat. That it's going to be one difficult horse routine, but first, we're going to see one difficult ring routine from Asher Hong here.
You know, I remember seeing him when he was a really young kid down there training in Texas, and he was really strong, and he was like 12 years old.
Yeah. Beautiful inverted cross, nearly flat. Right up to that handstand position.
You know, in this event, I feel like is one major reason why Asher was selected for that Olympic team. You know, he's so impressive on this event, and he's more than capable of scoring very, very well.
Absolutely.
And as you're seeing right here, he's doing a great ring routine.
Just flat like a table.
For the last 2 years running, the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation Conference Gymnast of the Year.
Big dismount.
Oh,
Wow. Just absolutely beautiful. We see a lot of athletes do that in the tuck position. You don't see a lot of them do it laid out, and he does it as well as you can possibly do it. Just so impressive to watch him work.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the hardest dismounts you can do on rings, and he made it look like it was easy.
Made it look easy.
Ethan
Crazy.
Poole now.
Big double pike to start there.
Really nice connection pass right there. He almost had that stuck landing, just a small hop backwards.
Braden Erickson before him had a 13.4. So the scores for Greenville range from 12.5 to 13.85. This is their fourth and final competitor. Remember, 4 up, 4 scores count. So there's no dropping a low score if you have a mistake.
So it may have looked like he did the same thing 2 times in a row there. He did the same thing in a laid out and then a tucked position. Those are 2 different elements, so you get 2 different values. They are not high enough element values, though, to get what we call a connection bonus that we see from some of those other skills. We'll take the pause for that scale. Coming to the dismount.
Huge
Standing pike. Wow.
Man, they got glue on their feet at Greenville today.
They are ready for this competition. I mean, because Oklahoma and Stanford are ranked number 1 and number 3, most of the focus is there, but they're doing a heck of a job.
Yeah, they are.
That was great.
All right, you talked about this a minute ago, Peter. Ignacio Yakers, and this is maybe one of the best pommel horse routines, not only in the country, but in the world.
Absolutely. He is just so talented. This routine is jam-packed with difficulty, start to finish. Gonna come right up to a handstand here. Gotta keep moving, and right back down, and he's just getting started. Gonna come into some single pommel work. He's gonna go around 1, 2, 3. Wow. So difficult. He's not done. He's got plenty more for us.
I mean, and he just does all these such difficult gymnastics, and it's just so well executed, so impressive.
He makes it look easy, but trust me, it is not.
Just the dismount coming up.
Got to fly up to that handstand to get a big number.
Oh!
Little slow.
Still pretty great.
Still pretty great. That's going to be a big number. May not be the biggest one we've seen from him quite this season, but wow, that is just so incredibly difficult.
They compete for
I mean, and aside from that little hesitation on the dismount, I really didn't have many deductions. I don't know what the judges are going to take there. I'm sure they'll find stuff.
Something. But that little bobble in his leg there, that could be relatively significant. All depends on how the judges are evaluating, and it also depends on the angle that they actually see it at.
Matt Berlaga now, the senior, up for Stanford on the rings. He's their anchor competitor.
Wow. Just to start off, that Azarian to plunge back into Azarian to Maltese. That is super difficult. Very few guys in the world that can do ring strength of that difficulty. We've got the pleasure of seeing it here from Stanford tonight.
Asher Hong before him had a huge 14.85 prior.
That is a big number.
And you can tell he's getting just a little bit tired, but I mean, man, and then he goes and does that.
You think he's tired?
Just looked like he was bobbling a little bit in his handstands for a second.
He's not tired now. Look at that plan.
So crazy, so impressive.
Right to the dismount here.
Wow.
Wow. Double layout. Little bit of pike in the air. Has a lower value dismount than a lot of the other athletes, which with the change in the rules actually is a little bit more impactful. One of the adjustments in the rules is that the value of the dismount is actually the value of what we call the element group. So there are multiple element groups on each event, one of them being a dismount. Typically, in the previous code, every element group, as long as you did something in the group, you would get 5/10 of bonus added to your difficulty score. Now, it's the same for the other element groups, except for the dismount. You have to do a more difficult dismount, you get exactly the same value as the skill. So, I know this gets a little bit complicated. Gymnastics scores are not a simple thing to understand, but what you know is the harder the dismount, the higher that difficulty is going to be at the end of the day.
I appreciate you trying to explain it to the audience, Peter, because the more you get into the weeds on the rules, this could be a 4-hour conversation.
Yeah, we could be here all night, Bart.
I'm here just to appreciate the world-class gymnastics, and all of these guys have routines that are constructed to get the maximum score. Let's face it, it's different than what we see in women's gymnastics in college, which is still based on the 10-0 system. The men use the FIG International Elite system, which is the same judging they use at the Olympics, the World Championships, and everything. And I admire the men for sticking with those Olympic rules, because these athletes are not only great college athletes, but we're looking at a big percentage of the Olympic team right here. They could compete anywhere in the world with these level routines.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really is. It's such a benefit for the NCAA as a feeder program into those international events, building Team USA and other nations around the world. You know, we have Emery Dodonley here from OU, who's a member of that 2024 Turkey Olympic team. And, you know, it's really, you know, competing in a different framework than they would have internationally would make it really challenging. You'd have to do everything differently, and this sets them up for a lot of success outside of just the NCAA.
Oklahoma has the lead in the team competition here with 110 points. Greenville with 104.45, but they're waiting on,
Still waiting on
the
that
final
last
score for
Stanford.
Mark Berlaga from Stanford. We talk about the Olympians. Asher Hong, of course, from Stanford, competed with the U.S. team and earned a bronze medal there in Paris this summer with the Olympic team. And, of course, Emre Dodonley competes for his home country of Turkey in his first ever Olympics. Placed 31st in the all-around. Did a really nice job over there competing as an individual.
What an incredible experience to be able to go, you know, and compete in the Olympics, get into that all-around final. Really just an incredible experience. I can't even imagine what it's like. There's only one of us here that can tell us a little bit about that, and it's definitely not me.
All right, this meet is close. Oklahoma is now with a 110. They're in second place. Stanford, coming off that incredible ring rotation, has moved ahead to 110.4. So 0.4 of a point, Stanford has the lead. And with a 104.55, Greenville in third.
This is going to be a close one. The ring scores on Stanford really helped them. That huge 14.85 from Asher Hong, that really helped them make up for those issues they had. But don't be worried, Ignacio Yakers had that 14.65 on the pommel horse. That makes a huge difference as well. The important thing to remember is we haven't seen OU and Stanford on the same two events.
Right.
So the scoring event is always going to be a little bit different. No matter how much we adjust the rules to try and make them as even as possible, there's always going to be a little bit of an offset, not just because of the rules, but also just because some teams are stronger on some events, some are stronger on others. So OU coming to the still rings here, I would say, if I had to go 10 for 10, it's hard to say whether Stanford or OU has the win on that event. We'll find out here very shortly.
Stanford currently ranked 4th in the country on floor, but as typical for the Stanford Cardinal, they often sandbag the regular season. They have so many athletes on their team. They don't necessarily put up their strongest lineups until postseason, do they?
No, they do not. And we're missing one of their most critical team members, Coy Young, who is just an absolute phenom, 2-time world silver medalist, was a member of that world team in 2023, the year before the Olympics, just barely missed out on going on a trip to Paris. He's out with an injury, but I spoke with Coach Tom Galimi before the competition. He told me that he's expecting to have Coy back in training full-time within the next couple of weeks. Oh, big mistake there. Able to keep it on his feet, but that is going to be a significant deduction.
This is Cooper Kim.
Really important for Cooper here to make sure that he gets his mind on right before he goes for this dismount. Got him mad, and I think we're going to see a big skill here. Double pike, just a hop there. Not as big as I was hoping for. He's not super happy with that. You can see he seems a little bit bummed, isn't bringing that energy back to his team, which can be detrimental. But as I was saying, we're missing Coy Young on Stanford, but we're also missing most of Colt Walker, who we saw on the pommel horse. He can contribute on almost every other event, but he is out with that ankle injury like you mentioned, Bart. Over to Ricky Mays again, here from Greenville, doing some very difficult gymnastics all around. I'm really impressed with him. He is an excellent athlete.
Yeah, you know, and all I'm seeing here, like you just said, Peter, he's doing some really impressive gymnastics. Just has some little form breaks here and there throughout the routine that I know he's working to clean those up a little bit as he looks to progress throughout the rest of the season. But again, very good performance from Ricky Mays.
And it's really hard to come out as a team like Greenville and compete against what are likely the top 2 teams in the nation this year. And, you know, you really got to show up. You know that at the end of the day, it's going to be really hard to try and come out with a win against teams like this, especially with such a new program. But, man, they are bringing it tonight.
Brigham Brentaway up for the Sooners in that leadoff spot.
Beautiful back up rise flange there. And a nice flat iron cross. Got to hold every position for a full 2 seconds. You want to be perfectly still coming into that handstand here.
And he looks very solid on this routine.
Very solid.
Sooners trailing Stanford by 4/10 of a point. They'll need to stay close here on rings, and they have the possibility to do it because they're ranked #1 in the nation on this event nationally.
Absolutely. Got to put down some sticks to make it happen.
There's one.
There's one.
Wow.
There you go. That's the way to start off the ring rotation.
That was a huge leadoff routine.
Absolutely. Especially after Stanford has the mistake. That is when you bring a routine like that, there is a mental game to this when it comes to the energy that you can bring by, it's not, there's no defense in gymnastics, but you can retaliate in a form of doing it crazy good routine when the other team has had a mistake. Wow.
Massive first pass to start this routine off, and just huge stuck landing. It was great.
Taylor Burkhart from Stanford.
You see.
Oh,
wow.
Talk about difficulty.
He can do some of the most difficult gymnastics you're going to see on this planet, and just done so beautifully. I'm really impressed with him over the years. He hasn't always been the cleanest gymnast out there, but he has really, really improved on that front. It is clear that he has been putting a lot of effort into that and just doing it with just such difficult gymnastics.
Yeah, I was about to say, you can't say that about him anymore.
No, you cannot. No, you cannot. It is really impressive to see the amount of improvement in that. That's one of those things that is really, really hard to fix as you get a little bit older. Oh, a little bit of bobble there before that scale. You got to make sure you slow down and take a breath.
And here comes the dismount.
Double. Wow. And that is how you answer for Stanford.
My goodness.
That is going to be a massive number.
He is such a balanced gymnast. He's really good on all 6 events.
We're going to take a look at that second pass here again. That connection. Double full, right into that double front. And wow. That is so incredibly difficult. I don't know any other way to describe it.
Kobe Cantu now for Greenville on pommel horse. Ricky Mays had a 12-8 in that leadoff spot.
Really nice swing here. Oh, had a little bit of a bobble there, but able to get himself back on track.
Love to see these guys fighting for every single 10th. You know, if they get off track, it'd be so easy to just jump off and be done with it, you know, but they're really fighting for it. They know how important every single routine is. Love to see that fight.
It didn't quite get all the way up to that handstand there. We'll see how the judges handle that. I think he might have done enough to get credit for that dismount. You got to make sure you go all the way through the handstand, and was likely supposed to do a bit of a pirouette, a turn off of the horse that he did not do.
Matt Burgoyne now for the Sooners.
And Matt Burgoyne is capable of breaking that 14 for his final score. He's very strong and very clean athlete.
Scores are good. Brigham Frenthenway had a 13-8 in that leadoff spot.
That's a great number to start things off for OU. Beautiful back of Bryce Maltese there. Going into those swinging elements.
I really like his handstand position. He just looks very solid up there, very much in control.
Dismount. I don't know if he's going to get, and he's got the stick. I wasn't sure, I couldn't tell if he slid his feet a little bit, but the judges had the green flag up. That is another stick for the Sooners.
Big routine, Matt Burgoyne, who by the way has a 4.0 grade point average. He's a nominee for the Elite 90 Award, which is for the top student athletes in the country. Good for him.
And that was an incredible routine.
Here's
but
Asher
man,
Hong.
If I had to pick a guy to answer that, this is the guy. That same super difficult pass we saw from Burkhart, done so well by Asher. Another connection.
Wow!
Just so explosive. It is just so impressive.
I remember the first time I ever saw him do gymnastics. He was about 1.5 feet shorter. And
he's not terribly tall right now.
Well, no, he's not the tallest athlete we're going to see tonight, but he was I think he was probably 12 or 13 the first time I ever saw him do gymnastics, and I was just blown away by how difficult and dynamic of an athlete that he is. It's just like even from such a young age, and he's been able to maintain that, has been a superstar since he was young.
There's 3 boys in the family, and they're all incredible gymnasts. His younger brother, Zander, is on the team but didn't make this trip, and Kiefer is also a great young gymnast.
Wow, runs in the family. Double way out for the dismount, a little bit of a hop. I don't believe that he went out of bounds there. I think he kept it in. A little bit of chest down. Going to get a little bit of a deduction there, but that is still going to be a really big number.
Yes,
for Stanford.
Difficulty was just piled into that routine.
Off
through the
charts.
roof, yeah.
Off the charts. I mean, that's a routine that you'll see in that you saw in the Olympic team finals.
Matthew Roth for Greenville. These last 2 pommel horse guys have scored extremely well for Greenville, and it seems like every team tries to find a pommel horse guy or 2 that can fulfill these big scores, because not every great all-arounder is great on the pommel horse, are they?
No, yeah, a lot of times some of the best all-arounders, they can be a little bit bulkier guys, which, you know, can make pommel horse a little bit difficult. But, you know, Bart, in recent years, I think there was kind of this expectation for a long time. Team USA had struggled on pommel horse, but, you know, as of late, we've really seen a lot of guys step up. Even these guys that are stronger and a little bulkier have figured out a way to do great horse. And a good routine there from off. A little bit of a mistake on that dismount. A little bit of slow up to the handstand, which the judges are going to take into account. But they're staying on. They're hitting routines. We haven't seen a major mistake from Greenville all night long. So impressive to get through almost half the meet here. Or actually half the meet here for them without any major mistakes. That's excellent.
And up next, we got Taj Haidu.
Weren't sure if we were going to see him in the lineup tonight. He had been dealing with the flu.
Really nice iron cross right there. I love how he opens up his hands just to show the judges that he's not cheating, so to speak, by putting his wrists on the rings to make those skills a little bit easier.
There's no way to cheat it. Trust me, Matt. Or you know just as well as I do.
Matt Burgoyne before him had a 14-2, so they're in that 14-point range. Anything but a 13-5 and up is outstanding in college gymnastics these days.
Absolutely. And it's really impressive to see the Sooners, how much they've improved on this event over the last year. Last year it was one of their weakest events. This year they are just phenomenal. They've gotten so much stronger.
Wow.
And they've gotten really, really good at sticking dismounts. Wow. 3 in a row.
And it's
for
not like they're doing easy dismounts and sticking them. They're doing the hardest dismounts you can do.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
And this is what OU talks about when they talk about Sooner magic. You know, you pick up on the energy, you pick up on the momentum from your teammates. Just amazing performances from these Sooner athletes.
Kyan Spencer now. Asher Hong.
Beautiful. Call that an Arabian double pike. They previously changed the rules in the last code of points. They had devalued that skill, so you didn't see it as often. Now they've increased it back up, so you start seeing it again.
Hong's score was a 14.05 in the previous performance.
That's a good number. I think you know, if he hadn't made that adjustment on the dismount, that would have been a significant amount higher. But still, big numbers.
And that's a unique non-acrobatic element right there that we're seeing. You know, you don't see that too often where guys do that press to handstand where they have to go through their arms to get up to handstand.
Taking a breath here before the dismount. Oh, wow. That was 3 hops out of bounds. That's gonna be a big hit to his score. That was gonna be a really big number. Just ran a little bit too far. Sometimes you just take one step too many and you wind up a little too far. And that is, when you make that mistake, it can be really detrimental. Those little tenths add up really quickly, especially when you're making those hops out of bounds.
Absolutely.
That was Brandon Wynn, by the way. The Stanford Cardinal changed the lineup at the last minute, not Kyan Spencer. Andres Esquivel from Greenville now.
And I really like just his position on this event. You know, he's really extended in his hips. You can tell that his hips are very high above the pommel horse. Really cleanly executed. It's looking really good so far.
Yeah.
Esquivel Garza, sophomore from Katy, Texas. Boy, there's a lot of gymnasts in this meet from Texas.
That there are. Wow.
That was a great
routine.
Performance.
That's going to be a good number.
Texas is one of those powerhouse states. There's so many good gymnastics clubs for both boys and girls. And it's amazing, this region of the country, the number of high-level national team members that come out of this part of the country.
And the most unbelievable part about it is not a single NCAA college program on either side in Texas.
Why don't you start one, Peter? I'll put my money on you.
You'll put some money in, Bart?
Yeah.
All right.
And I'll call your dad, my fellow Olympic gold medalist, Tim Daggett, and see if he'll contribute a bit too.
We'll see. I doubt it. But some really, really difficult strength that we're seeing here from Francisco Velez. Wow. So flat.
And to do it that late in the routine, I mean, it's so impressive. Just shows how strong he is.
He's just a freshman. So impressive. This could be a really big number. See if he can put down the stick.
Another one.
Wow. Four. That is the way to do a ring rotation.
That's why the Sooners are #1 in the country on the rings. High level of difficulty and terrific execution.
You know, we don't have all the scores in yet. If I had to take a guess off the top of my head, I think that OU is going to be leading heading into the next rotation. A lot of gymnastics left, though. We're halfway done. We'll see the Sooners starting on the vault. Stanford on the parallel bars and Greenville on the high bar. Stanford, so phenomenal on the parallel bars. That is one area that they really do have over Oklahoma. OU has made a lot of progress in improving their parallel bar lineup, but they're not quite to the difficulty that we're going to see from the Stanford team. There is a big spread in that starting score that you'll see from Stanford versus Oklahoma on the parallel bars. We won't be seeing them right back to back the way we do in just a dual meet, but we'll see them very soon after each other, starting with Stanford first on P-bars.
So the scores for the Sooners on rings, Bentaway at 13-8, Tosh Haidu a 14-1-5, Matt Burgoyne a 14-2, waiting on the fourth and final score, which will give us an assessment of the team standings.
If I had to take a guess, it's going to be about as close to that 14-8 number as you could possibly get that we saw from National Hong. I don't know if it's going to be quite as much.
It's a 14-3-5 for Francisco Velez Melendez. So the Sooners go back into the lead with 166.5, just a little less than 2 points ahead of their rival, the Stanford Cardinal.
And that's a pretty solid margin to be heading into. That's what they need. They need to keep building that margin at every event. We'll see now as the gymnasts are warming up. We have almost all the alumni that are here in the building down on the floor, save I think maybe 3 up here in the booth.
We're busy.
We're busy. We got
things to do.
We got things to do. So awesome to have everybody come into town just to, you know, spend time together. These really do become your brothers over the years that you're here together, and it's so wonderful to see everybody seeing, you know, my former captain Hunter Justice bringing his daughter to the meet, just incredible. It's like it really just makes me so happy to see everybody thriving in their lives after gymnastics. You know, when you're here and when you're competing, it feels like this is your whole world. It feels like it's never going to end. You learn pretty shortly after leaving school that there's a lot of life left over, and it's so great to see everybody thriving in their lives afterwards.
And of course, they're celebrating all the alumni, but particularly the gymnasts who won that national title in 2015, 10 years ago.
See a number of them out there on the floor.
And it's been cool. I've been kind of watching some of the alumni as they've been cheering on these other athletes competing tonight, and it's really cool just how invested they are. And you can tell it's almost as if they're still on the team with how much energy they bring, and you can just tell they're loving being back in this building and in this venue. Great to have all the alumni back.
Yep, never leaves you. And when you come to these sorts of weekends, you never know who's going to turn up. Some faces you haven't seen in 5 years. They just pop out of nowhere. It's like, oh my God, wow.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a wave from the floor from Hoy Lee. See him down there in the back.
Mark's first athlete, coached him all the way from club, came to OU. Mark moved on to OU, coached him all the way through his college career.
Hey, let's see if we can get us a t-shirt. What do you think?
Wow. I don't know if they're going to make it up here. So awesome to see everyone back, seeing the growing Sooner family.
I don't care how successful you are. Everybody wants a free T-shirt. Right?
Absolutely. Never, as Hunter Justice used to say, nothing beats free.
All right, so here's the score update, event by event. If you look at the bottom there, the Oklahoma Sooners with a 166.5 have the lead. That ring score of 56.5 was huge.
That is a big number.
And Stanford outdid the Sooners on rings. They had a 56.7, but they trail by a little less than 2 points.
Yeah, you see that big difference on the pommel horse there. Those are those two mistakes that you saw from Stanford on the pommel horse. That's really, that's the margin right there. If Stanford had hit both those routines, they would absolutely be leading. Coming into this competition, I asked Mark Williams, head coach here, if everybody was perfect, who would win, and he told me Stanford. Stanford has to make mistakes in order for OU to take the lead. And I think we're off here.
Right now it's the one-touch warm-up. There's a short break as the athletes move to the final 3 events.
I actually think we're going right now. Yeah, we're going. We're live here with Ian Lasik-Ellis from Stanford. Nice double front. No, we missed the beginning there. Very solid routine.
And we also missed seeing a vault from the Sooners. Tyler Flores started them off and got a 14.1, which is a great start for the Sooners.
One of the other changes coming into this code of points is the vaults are a little bit decreased in value, about 4/10 lower than they were in the previous code of points.
Michael Avery now for Greenville on high bar in their leadoff spot.
See his first release right here.
Nice, gotcha. Little close yet far on that catch there. Wasn't quite ready for the bar.
And big dismount. You could tell he wanted that stick so bad. He was really, really fighting for it.
Very short routine there, not a lot of skills in there. Not a ton of difficulty. Now we're gonna come back to the vault for Arthur Bolan.
Arthur was member of the French national team, redshirt freshman, having a terrific year on a couple of events for the Sooners. Explosive. Nice.
Bit of a hop there, but it's gonna be a good number for the Sooners. Just gotta keep putting down those vaults.
And that vault right there, you could tell, that hop backwards, you could tell he was really trying to go for that stuck landing. And that vault is so difficult to stick because it is a blind landing. You don't see the ground coming whenever your feet hit.
But you don't really want to go for the stick, right, Matt? You want to go for just a tiny hop forward, right?
That's what we used to always tell each other is, hey, one step forward. If the stick is there, take it, but go for just a small hop forward because it just guarantees a good landing and a very minor deduction.
The last thing you want is to wind up on your butt.
Right. And that can happen so easily when you try to go for that stick.
Brandon Wynn, the 5th-year senior out of Elk Grove, California.
Super difficult.
This is an outstanding event for Stanford.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the events, if they hope to gain some ground on the Sooners, they could do it here.
Yep.
Because this is where the Sooners are vulnerable.
That it is.
Yeah, Stanford's great on parallel bars, and you can see from that routine right there, it's a great representation of their team on this event.
This is the only event in the nation right now that they're ranked #1. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, they haven't used their full-strength lineup yet this season because of injuries and resting some guys, but parallel bars is superb. We go back to the high bar now. Kobe Cantu next up for Greenville.
Nice. Takamoto half, got to go right to that handstand.
And he did a pretty good job of getting to the handstand. And
I
hope he's okay.
That did not look pretty.
Oh.
Yeah. I think we're gonna have to take a little bit of a break here.
Oof.
That was not a pretty fall. It's always so unfortunate. Oh, such a shame. That is, you know, not quite sure. He kind of landed in a way, and I definitely don't want to see it again.
Yeah,
because
me
that
neither.
was not that is not the kind of thing that you want to take a look at twice.
Thanks to our director for going to the high, wide angle
Yep.
and giving us a minute to recover here, because going for a very difficult release move, that was a very awkward landing and did not look good in any way.
And he likely will not be finishing this event. I don't expect from the way that fall looked for him to get back up there, but we wish him all the best. We hope that it you know, sometimes things just hurt a lot. I'm hopeful that this is one of those situations that it just hurt a lot and there's nothing really hurt.
He is Kobe Cantu from Greenville. Now, we do have to discuss this. If an athlete is injured and unable to compete the rest of the routines, they can scratch them, replace them with another athlete.
Yep.
They deduct 1 point from the team score. And that is because the rules these days, with 4 up, 4 count, it's not fair if you had an injury to lose a meet because
Right.
somebody got hurt.
Absolutely, yeah. Because if you have one guy that only does half a routine because they got hurt, you're out of the competition. It doesn't matter. You can't do anything to redeem yourself, and especially in those situations where somebody gets injured, you really want to make sure that that team still has the opportunity to come back and prove who they are.
It's heartbreaking for Greenville because they were really impressing us up here in the booth with the quality of their gymnastics, and as their head coach Zach Peters told me the other day, their goal this year was to, instead of just do clean routines, to ramp up the difficulty a little bit. And when you start doing more difficulty, you take on more risk in a lot of ways, don't you?
Yeah, it's a risk-reward game. This is one of those situations where the risk is not giving you that payoff, but you see him getting up there.
Well, looks like he's being helped off the floor. A great deal of appreciation from the fans here
As always.
at McCaslin Fieldhouse on Alumni Night. Everybody in the building here tonight took a deep breath on that, because that was not a pretty landing. We certainly hope he's okay. Brigham Brentaway will be up now after a short pause now for the Sooners.
Got to make sure to stay warm when there's a pause like that in the competition.
Arthur
Never
Ballon and Tyler Flores had 14-0 and 14-1.
Going to see the same vault again here.
And another nicely done 2.5 from the Sooners. He did unfortunately step out of bounds with 1 foot. That will lead to a 1/10 extra deduction to his score. However, it was a very good performance. Sooners are looking for hit routines right now, and that's what they're getting.
Yep. But, you know, it's tough when you have Stanford on parallel bars. It is not a team. You really got to be perfect to try and keep up with them. This is Asher Hong again, the resident 2024 Olympian on the Stanford Cardinal. A little bit of a bend in the elbows there on that peach handstand.
Which that's surprising to see from him.
Yeah.
Normally he does it perfect.
Yeah.
The two scores for Stanford Cardinals so far are 13-4-5 for Ian Lasik Ellis and 14-1 for Brandon Wynn.
Beautiful swing element there. Oh, little bit of a misstep. Didn't quite get his hand where he wanted it, but he is just so strong. You barely even notice. Dismount. Bit of a shuffle backwards, but that is a good routine. That's going to be another good score for the Cardinal.
Talk about high level of difficulty.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what it takes these days to make the Olympic team. You can't just show up with clean routines anymore, can you?
No, you cannot. No, you have to do the absolute hardest gymnastics in the world if you want to compete on the international stage. You got to show up.
Jacob Foster now for Greenville on high bar.
And this can be scary sometimes, you know, having to be that next guy up after your teammate just had a potentially really bad injury that you just watched can be, you know, definitely mind-jarring, you know, and so it's really good to see him. Seems to be handling it quite well.
He's a junior from Knoxville, Tennessee, and he's 6 feet 2 inches tall.
Triple back.
Oh,
wow.
I love that.
Now that's the way to bring the energy back.
Have you
for the
ever
team.
seen a guy who's 6'2" do a triple off high bar?
Now I have.
Now I have. Yeah. There you go,
That
Matt.
was amazing, and to stick it of all things.
Wow.
That's one of those examples where we're seeing a higher level of degree of difficulty because you gain so many points by going for a hard skill at the end.
Exactly. Got Emery Donnelly here. Going to see the same vault again. Bit of a hop there. I'm not sure if he quite went out of bounds there. He may have been on the line rather than over it. But going to be a good number for the Sooners. Not a perfect vault rotation. You want to get, we saw a little bit more, you want to get those steps or hops down to, you know, maximum 1/10. We saw a couple 2 steps, a couple 3/10 steps.
Right.
It's not, you know, not the perfect vault that they needed.
You know, and that's a little uncharacteristic of the Sooners this year so far on vault. They've been doing really good all season long with really controlled landings and doing these difficult vaults. And so today, you know, wasn't like it was a disaster or anything like that, but definitely some errors that they'd be looking to clean up moving forward.
Looks like another lineup change for Stanford. Arun Chetri is their final competitor there, and then Taylor Burkhart will likely go in the 5th spot to compete for an all-around score today, but we'll see if the Cardinal chooses to do that.
It's a really nice skill. It's called a bell, named after a gymnast who created that skill. It's 2 flips and landing on your upper arms.
You used to do that one, Matt.
I did. It's painful to learn until you figure out how to do it right.
It doesn't hurt so bad once you get it, though, right?
Right. Once you've learned how to do it, it's a lot more controlled and not so painful on the arms.
This is a beautiful routine here. Oh, beautiful. And I believe that's the last gymnast that we'll see on parallel bars. Taylor Burkhart was scheduled to go. I see him over there by the rings, already got his high bar grips on.
All right. You can actually compete 5 athletes if one athlete wants to compete for an all-around score but not count towards the team total. And it looks like they've opted to do that for Stanford. Back to Greenville on high bar. Donovan Deviney.
And right there on that skill, you want to see it land in a handstand. He was quite far past it, and so that's going to be a pretty heavy deduction.
This now right here. A nice stuff landing there for Greenville.
And I'm loving these sticks.
They have some sticky feet, I'll tell you that.
It's really fun to watch.
Yeah, I don't know what they're putting in the water out there, Matt.
I don't know. I could have used some of whatever it is.
That you could have. I told you I wouldn't be as nice later.
Fair.
We're starting to get to that time.
Okay.
Gonna move into this transitionary phase, give the athletes a chance to jump up, touch the event. Actually, I think that we do have likely one more athlete to go on the high bar for Greenville, as we had that substitution.
Right.
So we'll have an athlete stepping in here in his place.
It looks like it's Sergei Popov is in that spot. He can, as we mentioned, they take 1 point off the team total for replacing an athlete due to an injury. And then Popov's score will count towards the team total.
It's an important rule to have in place. Never one that you want to use, but it's important to have it.
Typically, the teams warm up at least 1 extra guy on each event so that they don't go into this completely cold.
You always got to be ready. You always got to be ready to step up if they need you.
Popov, the 5'8" sophomore from Cypress, Texas. His high score of the year on high bar so far is a 12-2. See what he can deliver under a little bit of an added pressure here now for Greenville.
heels touch the bar there. The judges are going to make note of that. You want to make sure you don't want to touch the bar with anything but your hands.
Nice release move right there.
Not quite as high-flying as some of the other release moves we're going to see from both the Stanford and the OU team when they come to the high bar.
Let's see if they can get another stick. Ah, so close.
A little bit of a hop, but nice clean routine, got the hit. Awesome to see him step up.
But a big recovery for Greenville. They had a 12-2 from Michael Avery, a 12-6-5 from Donovan Deviney, and a 12.9 for Jacob Foster. And of course, Kobe Cantu took the fall and got hurt. We certainly wish him the best and hope he is well. But they did end up getting their 4th counting score in that rotation. Now, we'll move to the 5th rotation. The Oklahoma Sooners have a 2:22.15, and they have the lead. Stanford with a 2:19.4 is in second.
Actually saw that lead increase just a bit. To the vault, but Stanford, they've got a lot of great athletes here, and if they come to play, it's still going to be close. OU is not going to score as high as Stanford just did on the parallel bars, and it's going to come down right to the wire.
You know, and OU's going to need a fairly significant lead, I believe, going into that last event, just because Stanford will finish on vault, which is typically a higher scoring event, and the high bar is typically a lower scoring one.
Good point. And the Sooners are ahead of Stanford by a little bit less than 3 points. But that is the kind of score that could be made up very easily in the differential between high bar and vault. Good point.
Absolutely. And Stanford has one of the best vaulters in the world on their lineup, Asher Hong. Not sure if we're going to see his hardest vault that he can do tonight, but if we do, just know it's the hardest one that you can do, period. See what we get from Asher tonight. But first we'll see
Sergei Popov got an 11.95 in that last spot for Greenville, so they have a 2:04.95. They're doing a very respectable job, this young team, in just the 3rd year of this program, a small, private, liberal arts Christian school near St. Louis, about 50 miles northeast of St. Louis. And they, along with Simpson College, started a program a few years ago. When most men's programs are dwindling, there's only about 15 left. Great to see a couple of programs start, and added
really
men's
incredible.
gymnastics to their repertoire.
Really incredible. It's so great that we're seeing a bit of growth in the sport. We've seen decline for year after year after year. Unfortunately, during COVID, we lost 2 great programs, Minnesota and Iowa.
Right.
Now we're coming back and we're starting to see some programs entering. I'm really hopeful that trend is going to continue. You know, the good thing about these changes that we're making in the rules, this 4-4 count, you know, it's difficult to cross the NCAA. Of course, the budgets are tough. This is, you know, it's what we call a non-revenue sport. It's not generating a significant amount of revenue for the university, and it's, you know, you want to make sure that you're providing as many opportunities for student athletes as you can as possible. But of course, at the end of the day, there's still a dollars and cents equation to be thought about. But the good news is with these adjustments here, I think that was still a 1-touch. I don't think we're quite going yet, but with these adjustments, there's actually a reduction in what's required to run a gymnastics team. When you only have to travel 12 guys instead of 15 guys like we had in previous seasons, only have to put up 4 guys on each event, that means that the minimum dollars required to run the gymnastics program go down, which is a good thing, and it creates potential opportunities for more programs to show up in the future.
Interesting that this new paradigm shift in college gymnastics is really changing the game.
Yeah.
Scholarships, roster sizes, the money that's being involved, NIL opportunities. I mean, it is
It's
like
a very
the Wild
different
West
world.
right now, isn't it?
It is.
All right, here we go for Greenville. Bo Bice in the leadoff spot.
Difficult ball, little out of bounds, a little bit of bend in the knees in the air, but overall very solid. Difficult vaults. I'm really impressed to see Greenville pulling out these vaults that are just as difficult as we saw from OU and that we'll see from Stanford.
Yeah, you can tell they're really pushing themselves to up their difficulty so that they can actually have a chance down the road of hanging with some of these more competitive teams.
Matt Burgoyne now for the Sooners. Remember, the Sooners have a lead. A little less than 3 points over Stanford. We're in the 5th of 6 rotations.
I know there seems like a decent lead, but this is not over. OU has to be great.
And parallel bars this year has been the weakest event for OU. It's been their lowest scoring event fairly consistently throughout this season so far. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle themselves here tonight.
Currently, they're ranked 6th in the country on this event. Their lowest rank, as you mentioned, Matt. 1st in the country on high bar, rings, and floor. Oh, good start, though.
Very good start. But, you know, relative to what we saw from Stanford, the difficulty is just not there. That means that they have to be absolutely perfect if they want to protect that lead with some incredible Stanford athletes coming up here on high bar.
Ian Lasik-Ellis should be the leadoff competitor for the Cardinal.
Really talented gymnast.
Won the high bar title last week versus number 8, Cal.
And that was a nice Takamoto full right there. Is a little shy of the handstand. That one right there, though, was much better.
Gonna see some high-flying releases here.
Whoa!
Barely grabbed that one.
The catch there. Different one here. Another one. I think we're gonna come into some on-bar elements. A little bit of pirouetting work. You gotta get those handstands though. I think the judges are gonna hit him pretty hard on those handstands there. Little hop on the dismount. Good routine. I think some of those handstands, that full turn of that one and a half turn called a Quast and Rebalco respectively, they are really looking for you to get as close to that handstand as possible. They don't want to see you past it.
Braden Erickson next up on vault for Greenville. Oh!
Looks like he's all right, just wasn't quite ready for that landing. That ground comes hard, it comes fast.
Yeah, it looked like, I mean, he was twisting until the very last second to get that skill completed.
Bo Bice before him had a 13.25. Here's Tyler Flores. You see his parallel bar average. This is an event where the Sooners need hit routines if they're going to hold off Stanford, who's terrific over there on high bar right now.
Yeah. Bit of a step there. Got to lock in.
And every single time these gymnasts move their hands on the parallel bar, even if it's just a little bit, that is 1/10 deduction.
Oh. That's going to be a significant deduction there. So that bend in the arms. Needs to really focus in.
I know he got rattled there, but I'm glad to see he's back on track.
Just got to slow down your mind. Dismount right here. Bit of a step back there. Not going to be as good of a number as he was hoping for, but it's a hit. Stayed on the bars. Really, you know, that is going to be a bit of a hit there with that arm bend. But there are worse things that could have happened.
Absolutely.
They're still in the game. Not over till it's over.
Cooper Kim now, the freshman out of Michigan.
Really nice one-arm skill right there.
Ian Lasik-Ellis had a 13.4 in that leadoff spot.
So that was way past. I don't think we can quite see it from the angle there. That first Takamoto element went way past the handstand. Big release here.
Wow. Little closer than he would have liked to be when he caught that. Had to bend his arms a little bit.
Another one here. Little close again. Another arm bend. These are the little mistakes that you can't make if you want to steal the lead.
Yeah, and he did some really difficult gymnastics.
Yeah.
His start value is very high. However, he had a lot of big errors throughout that routine. You know, the bent arm after the releases, shy of his handstand. And so the judges are going to really hit him for some of those.
Yeah.
Jackson Clapper will be the next vaulter for Greenville.
Same vault here.
Wow.
Much better. That was very well done. That's going to be a good number.
You know, those guys were crashing their vault landings a little bit in the warm-up.
Yeah.
And that's a good example of where they're adding that extra half twist. That's more difficulty. You get more risk, of course, but you also get a higher score if you can make it around. So good for those guys.
Absolutely. Got the other Flores coming up here on the parallel bars.
This is Colin, Tyler's brother.
Really nice giant right there, and love that skill right there. Yeah, he travels from one end of the bar all the way to the other. Really fun to watch.
Gonna do another one very similar.
Here's a guy who tore his ACL last year at the Winter Cup, which is about a year ago. And he's back in the lineup on one event parallel bars, and he's good here.
Yeah. Doing excellent work here. Just gotta put it down for that landing. Double pike. Tiny little hop there, but that was a beautiful routine. That's what they needed to keep things moving.
He's coming after Matt Burgoyne, had a career high 14-2 on parallel bars. Back to Stanford on the high bar.
Back to the high bar. Cooper Kim, see that 12-6 score. Not what you want to see on the high bar.
Taylor Burkhart.
And Taylor is capable of doing some really difficult gymnastics, starting right here.
Huge. He's got more, don't worry. Right here, huge, so difficult.
Oh, my
right
goodness.
to a connected ginger. Wow.
Right over the top of the bar.
You know what? You saw that half turn at the end, and he lost as much as one of those skills is worth.
I think the judges are being a little easier on those handstands this year in terms of angles that are required, but he does a lot of hard stuff.
Yeah, he does.
He's just such a fun athlete to watch. Can he get the stick?
So
Bit of a
hop there, but
Oh,
wow.
you can see why he's the #1 all-arounder in the nation currently.
That is a wild ride
Wow.
on that high bar routine.
I gotta believe gymnastics is the original extreme sport when
That
you look
it
at
is.
something like
Yeah.
that.
And it just gets more extreme with time. It never, this is really the first code of points in which you could,
Ricky Mays. Oh, that
wow,
was good.
Beautiful ball from
great.
Ricky Mays. But as I was saying, this is really the first code of points change that I've seen in my lifetime that one could argue that they actually made gymnastics a little bit easier. And ever since I can remember, they've made it harder and harder every year. But this is the first time they've done anything to make it a little bit easier on the athletes, which I think is, trust me, it's not easy.
There's
but
so
it
many.
makes it-
There's so many injuries in gymnastics.
Yeah.
Perhaps it'll reduce the
I'm
amount of injuries.
hopeful of that for sure.
Emre Dodanli now.
And
Beautiful.
I love watching Emery on parallel bars because he just looks very controlled. You know, some of these other athletes we see that get a little ahead of themselves, they rush. Emery just seems like he takes his time. And
Took his time on that landing, brought down the stick to close out.
Here's
the
a
parallel
guy
bar rotation.
recovering from a broken hand. And I bet anybody who watches gymnastics regularly here watching the Sooners is looking, well, where's Fuzzy Bennis? And Fuzzy is out. He had a torn tendon in his thumb and he had surgery. And so the Sooners are not at full strength either because they're not competing with one of their superstars. But good to have Dodanli back in the lineup because he wasn't competing earlier this season.
And he's got a free T-shirt. I don't know if that was a T-shirt or a sock. I'm not sure what that was. But giving the crowd some love here. Got a big crowd packed field house, just like we like to see here.
Brandon Wynn up now for Stanford on high bar.
This is a really critical routine for them. You got to get 4 hits on high bar. You can't have a miss. If you want to stay competitive, if you want to take home a title tonight, this has to be hit.
Oh! Now that went out the wrong way.
That went out the wrong way, and that is going to that's going to make it really challenging for them. If Oklahoma puts down 4 hit high bar sets, it's going to be really hard. Got a lot of gymnastics left though.
Right on the end of his fingertips.
Got to do it again. Tucked this time.
Just beautiful.
It is absolutely beautiful. He's not done.
It's such a shame that he had that error at the beginning, because, I mean, this routine is just jam-packed, and it's done so well.
Such great lines. Dismount here. Got the stuck landing.
Brandon Wynn,
energy.
the fifth-year senior.
And that right there, I think, just kind of shows the importance of not giving up on the routine. When a mistake happens, you know, don't crumble. Rise up to the moment, and that's what he did right there. He made every single 10th count after that error happened, and it's going to still turn out to be a relatively decent score, I believe.
Perhaps he saved a fall, which would, of course, been a 1-point deduction. So he did have a couple of breaks in the rhythm in the direction of the skill, but that's what we're seeing here and typically see from Stanford. I'm Bart Connor, along with Peter Daggett and Matt Wensky. Great to be with you guys today here on Alumni Weekend. We got a great crowd on hand with Cleveland night, and just thinking about how great it is to be back in McCaslin. And we have a great contest tonight. What has impressed you, first of all, about Stanford?
Yeah, I mean, Stanford just all around, their gymnastics is so difficult, and their guys are just so clean. They really do have the potential. I mean, there's no question. They've won the last 5 NCAA championships in a row. There's a reason for that. They do the hardest gymnastics. They do it really clean. But the thing about Stanford is they don't always show up in hit routines. Tonight, we haven't seen them be as consistent as they can be, and they have to be if they want to show up in a couple of months and take home a national title. If they do what they did tonight, it's going to be really, really challenging for them. But, you know, they are jam-packed. But even still, it's hard to say this watching how difficult their gymnastics is. We're still missing a Olympic alternate, a 2-time world silver medalist, Coy Young, on that squad, and a world team member on 5 other events, Colt Walker. There is a lot of gymnastics that they have left in that lineup that we haven't seen tonight, not yet this season, that they could potentially bring home an NCAA championship. But yeah, they are just so impressive.
And of course, Matt, your perspective of the Sooners at this point in the season as we get set for the final rotation. Stanford on the vault.
Oh, and so with OU, I believe their biggest strength is their consistency and their execution. You know, they don't have as much depth or as much talent, so to speak, as Stanford does. However, they are so good at executing. They are really good at hitting routines. They're great at keeping the energy up, even if a mistake does happen, so as to not let the momentum kind of die down. So I think those are the big things that really help OU stay on track with some of these really, really competitive teams. And
these two teams are separated by less than 3 points now as we go to the 6th and final rotation. Oklahoma has a 275.05. Stanford 272.6. Now, Oklahoma is going to an event where they're the #1 team in the country, the high-flying high bar, but they can't afford a mistake there, can they?
No, they cannot. You got to let go of that bar and catch it again a whole bunch of times, land a bunch of dismounts, hopefully stick a few of them. If OU can do that, I think that they should take home the win tonight, as long as they make sure to make sure they take into account those little details as well.
All right.
You got to do all of it together.
And that's the exciting thing with gymnastics is you never know. Like right now, it seems like OU is going to take this win, but anything can happen at any moment. And so if the Sooners do what they're capable of doing, I think they go home with this win, and it's going to be exciting to see what unfolds.
Final touch warm-up here as the athletes get set for the 6th and final rotation. It's been a great contest.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen some really high-quality gymnastics, and I think it's important to point out that this level of gymnastics is not only great nationally, but this is the kind of guys that make it to the finals of the Olympics and the World Championships.
Absolutely, yeah, it is so amazing to be able to come back to the alma mater and see some of the best gymnastics that you're going to see in the world. It is a really, really cool experience, and I just, like, hats off to all teams tonight. Really, really great job, but we're not done yet. We got one more rotation. It is the most critical, it's the most fun, it's the most exciting. Finishing up on high bar, OU. Stanford finishing on the vault. Vault is, as we've mentioned, a little bit of a higher scoring exercise than the high bar. So OU has a lead, but Stanford's gonna try and creep up.
Okay, here we go. Ready to go for Stanford on the vault. Cooper Kim is this leadoff vaulter. 4 athletes, and all 4 scores count towards the team total. Wow.
Very nice, Yurchenko double full. Just didn't get that landing. Big hop out of bounds. That is going to be a significant deduction. And that is one of those vaults that does not have as high of difficulty as we've seen from most other athletes. The reason there is he did one less half twist. However, that style of vault, what we call Yurchenko, you see it a lot in women's gymnastics. You don't see it as often in men's. It is typically judged far more favorably. So you kind of make up those lost difficulty points from improved execution.
Donovan Deviney now for Greenville on parallel bars.
Very nice work. Looks solid and comfortable up there. Right to the dismount. A little bit of a short routine. Done very well.
They're only trailing Stanford by 14 points and the Sooners by about 17 points, but this is a brand new program. I'm quite impressed with how well they're doing today.
As am I.
Brandon Zepeda-Ort.
And I've been very impressed with him on high bar this year. He's meet after meet, he's done very well, hits great routines, and is capable of scoring very well.
Beautiful there. Hit that handstand perfectly. Got more to do. Perfect.
Keep in mind, this guy's been sitting around all day. He's only doing one event, the high bar, and it's the last one.
That is tough. That is a tough spot to be in.
And he's the leadoff guy. He's got to set the pace for everybody. Here he goes.
Dismount right here.
Oh!
Just a tiny little step on that dismount, but that's going to be a really good number.
Last week, he had the best routine of his career. Mark Williams told me the other day that even back in November, they weren't sure he was going to make the lineup, but he did a nice job there.
Yeah.
He's a great high bar worker.
It means a lot to be able to be a single event specialist. Now that the traveling roster size is down to 12, it's even more difficult to get those single event specialist gigs. But a big vault here.
Burkhardt.
Half on, double full.
Wow.
That's
difficulty.
That is difficult. I think we say that word a lot, and but we can't say it enough. Honestly, it's so hard to describe how challenging all of this is. I couldn't even begin to think about doing a vault that hard.
Cooper Kim before him had a 13.75. Parallel bars now.
Each half, able to save it. Wow.
And that's a really difficult skill he just did. I mean, and what a great fight.
Yeah.
It's Jacob Foster.
Beautiful line here.
He's had some of his best scores so far this year on parallel bars.
Oh! Missed that hand there. Oh, came down to that L. That's going to be a significant deduction there.
He's been dealing with some wrist issues this season.
Double back to finish it off. Able to get through without coming off, but that is going to be a significant deduction.
I'll tell you what, anytime you see a guy who's 6'2" doing gymnastics at a pretty high level, that's impressive.
Right.
There's not a lot of guys in our sport that are that height. Usually the prototypical gymnast is about our height, right?
Yeah,
about
yeah.
5'6",
And
5'7".
for those of you who can't see us because we're not standing up,
We are standing up.
5'7" may be generous part.
I was speaking for you.
Let's be honest here.
I said 5'6" or 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Brigham Frentaway now.
A little bit over on that first angle.
First release coming up.
Connecting. Done very well. Got to stay on that bar, hit those handstands, and stick those landings. Another release right here, straddle.
Nicely done.
Zepeda Orth led them off with a 13.5.
Dismount coming up. Right? Oh, not quite yet.
Now I think he's gearing up for the
Now
dismount.
we're ready. See if he can put down a stick. And just the slightest little foot movement there. No stick on that one. But it was a very good routine. Gonna be a good number.
Another great performance from the Sooners. You know, and this is what I was
Yeah.
talking about earlier with their consistency and their execution. You know, that wasn't necessarily the hardest routine that we'll see here tonight on high bar, but it was executed great. And again, another hit routine from the Oklahoma Sooners.
Speaking of big vaults, here comes Asher.
And I'm not sure if we're gonna see it tonight. I don't believe he's done it so far this season, but he is capable of doing the hardest vault in the world. Nope, not tonight. But still, a very difficult vault. Wow.
And so tonight we've been seeing a lot of these guys doing 2.5s, and that's already a difficult vault. And Asher just did another half turn with that, so did a triple full, extremely difficult vault, done so well.
Believe it or not, we've actually seen him do that vault with another half twist on it.
He came after Taylor Burkhart had a strong 14.3. So as you mentioned, Stanford finishing on vault and a high-scoring event, and they're doing great so far. Jacob Foster.
Nice Healy twirl right there.
Michael Avery.
See a lot of those pirouetting elements in parallel bars, a lot more than you used to see.
Foster's score was an 11.15, pardon me.
Nice dismount for Avery there.
And that was a good routine. Again, I know we keep saying it, but I'm just very impressed by what these Greenville athletes are doing. You know, they're really pushing themselves to up the difficulty, and I think in a few years they'll be pretty competitive. It's great to see it.
No question about it.
Kelton Christensen, he can really fly on high bar. This is one area where he specializes for the Sooners. Typically in a clutch position, he has delivered.
Gonna be a big routine. Sooners need these hits. Oh, beautiful. Saw that same release that saw from Taylor Burkhart a little earlier, called a Winkler.
And oh, sorry, Peter, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just saying, I love watching Kelton's high bar just because of how good his angles are. You know, he's really great at hitting all of these handstands, and if he misses a handstand, he's just shy of it, you know, and it's really, really good to see it.
And another connected element. Takamoto half to a Ginger. Little over on that pirouette there. Right to handstand on that one. Dismount coming up. See if he can bring a stick in for the Sooners on high bar. Oh, big hop there. Looked a little labored at the end, but stayed on his feet, and that's what the Sooners need. They need hit routines.
The Sooners have scored a 13.5 with Zepeda Orth and a 13.55 for Brigham Frentaway.
It's going to be close.
Yeah, I think it's going to come
be
down
really
to
close.
the very end.
Stanford is pouring it on vault. Brandon
they are.
Wynn is their final vaulter. Remember, these two teams were separated by less than 3 points. It's getting close. Oh!
Just
wow.
a beautiful
What a
handspring double front.
That was beautiful.
So much height. I think there's a half twist on that at the end in his future.
And Stanford is not making it easy. They're telling the Sooners, hey, if you're going to beat us, you have to earn it.
Jackson Clapper now. last competitor for Greenville on the parallel bars in this impressive effort by this team.
It's very comfortable up there. Nice dismount to finish things off for Greenville.
He's coming after Michael Avery, had a 12.6.
Now, we don't know exactly the number that Emory needs to take home the win. We haven't seen that vault score come up yet.
Kelton Christensen, his score, we'll wait to calculate that in. This is Emre Dodanli, the final competitor. These two teams,
it's going to be
within a couple of tenths of a point either, coming into
close.
These last two scores.
He needs to score at least a 13-6 to take the win.
Oh,
just
nice.
So
huge release.
Difficult.
Here's another.
Wow.
Nicely done. Straddle Tkachev right there. Then a piked one. This is looking good from Emory.
He needs to save every tenth if he wants to take home the win over the Cardinal here in the field house on alumni night. Oh, just the tiniest little hop, and it is gonna be close.
The score came in for Brandon Wynn from Stanford.
And we need to see a score of at least a 13-6 for OU to take this win. I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
It's gonna be really close, Pete. If I was a judge, I don't know. I'd give that 13-7, 13-8, but I'm also a little biased.
You're a little biased, Matt.
Brandon Wynn
so
had
we'll
a
see.
13-8-5, and
it's quite
their
possible.
final vault for Stanford. They have 328.85.
But Emory has scored a 14 on this event before, so I mean, it is possible. We're gonna see. It's gonna be close.
It'll be very,
The three
very
scores
close.
for the Sooners so far are 13-1-5, 13-5, and 13-5-5.
I think he's got it. I think he's got it. I think he's gonna take it. And the Sooners are gonna take this win over the Cardinal. But we'll find out here
A
in just a moment.
13-6 would tie it exactly. Anything more than 13-6 is a win for the Sooners. What a thrilling competition. We said at the top of the show, this is going to be a great meet. This did
And
not disappoint.
OU
And there it is.
takes it. Wow.
So the score comes in. The Sooners get the win.
Wow.
Emre Dodanli.
That's a great feeling.
He was sitting out a lot of the season because of injuries. Had a broken hand in the fall.
I think the alumni are storming the floor.
He got a 13-8-5, more than they needed. The Sooners with a 329-1
Wow.
will get the win.
The alumni storming the floor right now.
That is so great. That is awesome.
You know, it's been a really cool rivalry over the years. Stanford, like we said, OU won 4 in a row. Stanford won the next 5. OU really wants to come back and take that away from them. Don't let them get the 6 in a row. Get it back to Norman. Get that NCAA trophy back to Norman, Oklahoma.
Their second highest score of the season for the Oklahoma Sooners. Earlier this year, they scored a 330.7. Tonight, it's a 329.1. One of the highest scores in the nation this year to edge out the Stanford Cardinal.
We saw Sooner legend Yul Moldauer down there on the floor, getting pumped up. He's the guy you can always count on to bring the energy. Saw Hunter Justice out there. And now we're seeing all of the children from Cleveland Elementary that we've all spent so much time with as when we were student athletes, and the team spends time with today. Just a great way to work with the children and give back.
Let's highlight some of the event winners today in all 6 events. The Sooners get the team win. Stanford second with a 308.80. Greenville in third, but a really impressive for this team. But Asher Hong on floor is just otherworldly.
I don't have words to describe it. I do my best, but he is just so unbelievable. I mean, he's so unbelievable across the board.
Ignacio Yakers for the Sooners on the horse. The top scorer today.
And it's just world class watching Ignacio. He does such extremely difficult gymnastics, makes it look effortless.
And back to Asher on the rings with this incredible strength and just massive dismount. Wow. World class.
And once again on parallel bars.
We're seeing a lot of him. You're probably not surprised.
And just a huge double front dismount right there. Another great performance from Asher Hong.
I don't think that last one was Asher.
Asher won the ball. Brandon Wynn won the parallel bars. And Emre Donnelly with a 13.85.
That's a big number.
Will secure the win for the Sooners. What a fantastic meet.
Yeah.
A great crowd on hand.
Everyone on the edge of their seats.
Alumni weekend, everybody having a great time, and the Sooners have enough gas in the tank to defeat the Stanford Cardinal, who have won the last 5 straight NCAA championships. What a fun night. Your quick final thoughts. We just got a couple of seconds.
There is nothing better than taking home a win. I know that the OU is so excited about this. They love beating Stanford any chance they get, and I'm sure they're excited to do it here tonight when they're in the field.
Matt, you too?
And I just love the energy here with the Cleveland Cubs, you know, and all the energy they bring and all the fans and the alumni. It was just great, so exciting, and so much fun.
Well, we're glad you joined us. Thank you, Peter Daggett and Matt Wensky. The Sooners on Alumni Weekend get the win. I'm Bar Connor. Oklahoma will remain #1. Thanks for watching, everybody.
A big Sunday calls for Starbucks Monday.
Reese's has big news. It involves lava.
I've heard it all my life. Don't buy fancy coffee. But here's the thing. I like my daily dose of vanilla latte. With SEFQ's help, I know I'm managing and spending my money in a way that works best for me. And I can keep track of my spending just like that. Boom. Mobile app. I'll take a muffin too. Since I got an account with SEFQ, I'm doing things my way, and that's what really matters. Ooh, that's good.
Burger King has a deal for all. $5 duo answers hunger's call. $7 trio, more options for y'all. Which one will you choose? At BK, have it your way.
So I was dating this guy, Chris, for years. I wanted to buy a house. Chris didn't. But then I realized I don't need to be with someone to buy a house. Good morning, babe. Coffee for you, French press.
Thank you.
Yeah, brand new. I could do it on my own. That was Josh. Josh is my neighbor.
PGA Tour Live on ESPN+.
It's a full season, and it's all here on ESPN+. I just can't get enough.